you die, it's done.
Right. You see, when you die,
It's done.
it's done.
Oh my God.
From the horse's bloody mouth. Can we put this to bed now?
I sad.
Gonna go and do my convention thing. Got my costume, I'm going now. Yeah, we're having a ball. It's Star Trek, y'all. Hey, down the border, beam me up.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Shuttlepod Show. Today we have very special guest, Rod Roddenberry. We'll be We'll be answering your fan questions, playing some Star Trek trivia, finding ourselves on Connor's remote island, and much more. This is our very first live conversation, so we hope you guys have a lot of fun.
Oh, God.
Oh, no. And that's all we've got time for.
That's right. Thank you very much.
I'm Erica LaRose, but before we move on, we have a special message from our producer, Mark.
Like, subscribe, and join us on Patreon. Or join us right here on YouTube. You can join us here now as well.
Join us right now.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
And now for your hosts, Connor Trenier and Dominic Keating.
Yay.
Good to see you.
Glorious.
Yeah,
and
you
red.
do.
Thank you.
Got a song coming on.
One of the only reasons I showed up.
Firebomb.
That's right.
It frankly was. I mean, honestly, this has been just in discussion.
I like your outfit as well.
Thank you very much. I'm wearing some presents from one of our benefactors,
yes.
Nichols. Look at those lovely shoes.
Yes, and Lee also brought me some little moccasins to protect my injured.
Poor Connor's got a bad foot.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, Lee.
Oh, you walked in on a cane today.
I wish I had it show
It's,
you.
if we're going to call it what's the brand it? The Cripple Pod Show.
Cripple Pod
I've
show.
got a bad hip.
Oh my God. We'll do episodes just of our maladies.
Honestly, it's coming.
Well, you could do little things that have him fall over on camera. I mean, he could,
Exactly.
Pratfalls.
It'd be nice to see if he can get hurt on camera.
Oh, I can.
I'm sure the fans would love that.
Yeah. I woke up yesterday and I thought,
Oh,
so I took a COVID test.
Oh,
good.
Oh, now you mention it.
And it's positive.
That was positive. So sorry, you guys.
I'm going to get started pretty quick.
2 lines is positive, right?
I've never done one, but I'll take your word for it. I'm glad.
No, I'm negative.
I'm glad you're all the way. over
Right.
there.
Right.
Ladies and gents, boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers, welcome back to the Shuttlepod Show. I'm your co-host, Dominic Keating. Just thrilled, truly excited to have a man in the chair, the Golden Throne this week, who we're very proud and honoured to call a chum. If I might liken his father to Zeus.
Oh, boy.
Bear with me.
Wow.
Okay.
The king of the gods of the skies, then it's not too much of a mythological leap to think of his son, Hermes, as the messenger of said gods. Because this man has certainly taken his father's message and the ethos of what he created and run with it for the best part of over 2 decades now, with an absolute love, care and devotion beyond the call of duty. He is without doubt a Renaissance man. He is multifaceted. He's a TV producer. He is an extraordinarily generous philanthropist with his foundation. He's also a dive master with over 1,000 dives under his belt. He is, of course, Eugene Wesley Roddenberry Jr., but perhaps better known colloquially and in the circus as Mr. Rod Roddenberry.
Yes, thank you, guys. Thank you. That was. I normally get uncomfortable when my father is put on a pedestal because so many people for years have put him as the great bird of the galaxy.
I wanted to start out with that,
Right.
for that very reason, because that's what I read that quote. And
But
yes,
you did it was very nice as the messenger.
you are.
Because it was very nice because I didn't want to be anything else. Messengers, I'm happy with that.
Good.
I am happy with that because the reason I'm here and the reasons we'll get into it later. But I mean, I love Star Trek more for the philosophy and ideology than for the shows. I love the shows, but I love the messaging more than anything.
Yeah. I mean, as we've gotten deeper into knowing the shows in general, I would concur and say the same.
Yeah.
Some of the shows leave me a little cold.
Yeah,
But
well.
the overall tenet of the thematic of the show is without doubt of note, and It's very worthy.
Michael Gambon would have been very proud of your
God bless
introduction.
Michael. He would, wouldn't he?
He would have.
What's the blood? You know, he auditioned for Sir Larry with
Richard III. Yeah.
After Larry's amazing, award-winning, and Larry said, King Richard III, very good play. What part? So look, I know that you were a young man when your dad passed away, and I was a young man when mine passed away. I didn't know my dad very well, frankly. He was a travelling salesman, and I got sent away to school. Did you know your father very well, given the lifestyle he led and the production life he led? And
I'm gonna go with mostly no, but you know what? My father came home for dinner just about every night. I remember my father at the table almost every night. So he did come home, and he gave an interview once, and I don't want to misquote him, but he said something along the lines. So my father had a wife before my mother.
Yes, Eileen.
And he had
Anita Eileen.
Eileen, yeah,
Eileen, yes.
yeah. And he had two children. And his quote was...
They met when they were quite young, weren't they? Was it the police academy or something?
Yeah.
Right.
His quote essentially was, if I'm going to do this again, and he was kind of referring to the next generation, I'm not going to do it the same way I did it before, where I never saw my family. And so, I think he made a concerted effort to come home just about every night and be at the table. I didn't know him as Gene Roddenberry. I knew him as Dad.
You did, because I mean the original show had cancelled and had gone off air, and he was now not scrambling, but certainly touting around town for other work as a writer. Lord knows he was a very accomplished. He won a WGA Teleplay Award in 1958 for the Highway Patrol, I think it was.
Yeah, he did Highway Patrol.
This is his first job out of the gate.
Yeah.
And he won an award for it. I mean, he clearly had talent.
He was very successful.
Did you know who Gene Roddenberry was at 12 years old?
No, I didn't. I used to go around saying my dad's Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, not really knowing what that meant. As a young, I mean, not at 12, but I mean, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
And then I didn't appreciate Star Trek. I mean, people have heard me say this a million times, but I was a Knight Rider, Dukes of Hazzard, Starsky and Hutch kind of guy.
Yes, sir.
Bonanza kind of guy.
And fun shows.
Canon.
Yeah. But the depth that Star Trek had, the storytelling, the character development, it just wasn't for me. Like the first Star Trek I ever saw was my father showing, was it 8mm, 9mm reel of the blooper reel in his home office in the bathroom against a white piece of cardboard.
He took that around to the conventions a lot, didn't he? Yeah,
and he played it for me, and I would sit on the floor and giggle.
And giggle.
And that was really my introduction into Star Trek.
That? Now, I know as a young boy, I looked this up. You went to the John Thomas Dye School up in Bel Air there, didn't you? I don't know if you remember. Do you remember a couple of classmates you had?
Oh.
If my math is right, you were at school with Tori Spelling.
She was a grade above me.
She was a grade.
Yeah.
Monica Lewinsky.
She was, so apparently I carpooled with her. I didn't know that.
You don't know that.
I didn't know that.
And Paul Thomas Anderson. He might have been a year above you.
I think he was a year above too.
But they were all there together around those years. That was like going, oh, look at that posh Bel Air, Beverly Hills School.
No celebrities or scandals in my grade that I'm aware of.
Right.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I mean, we still have the show.
Right.
How big was your class? Like, was it a small school or?
There were 2 grades. I'd say maybe 20 plus in each class, so 40 per grade, and it was kindergarten through 6th grade.
Oh,
yeah.
And you went on to Harvard Westlake.
I did.
And then to Hampshire College in Massachusetts.
Yes.
What did you read there?
So I was kind of a goof off in high school quite a bit. I was more interested in being cool, my version of whatever cool was. Mm-hmm. And so I was into heavy metal and chasing girls and not really... let's just say I didn't do the homework all the time.
But Harvard Westlake is not a joke school. It's
not
a hard school.
Joke school. Listen, I wasn't a complete reject, but I certainly was on the lower end of the scales when it came to people in my grade because I didn't try. I goofed off. And but when my father passed away, I don't necessarily believe in single life-changing moments, but that was enough of a slap in the face. That was just the cold water that made me, reflect and go like, wait a second.
Yeah. Did it come as an awful shock, or he was not a well man, but nevertheless, the passing it's the finality of it is so shocking, isn't it?
It was shocking because I know he'd been sick. He had had a few strokes before. Yeah. And I think for everyone else, it's easy to sort of say, well, you can see him decline. As a kid, my father was larger than life. And so when I think of him as sick,
To any son.
yeah, and
In
when I
any-
went to the
yeah.
hospital, I had this I didn't want to see him in the hospital because it was hard to see this big, powerful man
He was a big man. Too,
in this condition. I remember walking in after one of his strokes when he was home. He would sit in bed and he couldn't speak because he had had the stroke, and it was so hard for me to see. I just couldn't wrap my head around what was going on because you could see him try. And he couldn't. My father was all about communication. I mean, that was his entire life.
Indeed.
And so all this is to say, I didn't really get it. So, of course, the day that I was called when I was at school and when he did pass away, it was a surprise to me.
Tough day for your mum too, I dare say. I mean, the love of her life, I would say.
Yeah.
And
She truly loved him unconditionally.
she really did. And she wrote to him, didn't she, when he was working at Screen Gems, as she was Major Lee Huddock.
Hudick, yes.
In those days.
Her maiden name.
And I love the fact that she changed her name when they had to recast her from number one in the original pilot for the series. No one liked her in it. I don't think Shatner liked her in it, and I don't think Leonard liked the fact that he was getting upstaged by a lady on the show, and there was all sorts of.
Well, there was also there was a quote by one of the studio executives who was like, "Well, well, well.
Oh, yes,
there she is.
Well,
She's
so
back."
That's when they recast her as Nurse Bartlett, Chapel.
Yeah,
They put her in the blonde wig and they changed her name, thinking that she was sneaking under the.
Yeah.
Marvelous
My
story.
father wasn't going to let go of her.
No.
Might take her down a few pegs, but
Right.
not going to let go of her.
I was looking. I mean, really, you can see the formation of Star Trek through your dad's prior early work. He always had a travel show in mind.
Yeah.
He always had some sort of integrated cast, a diverse cast in mind,
Yeah.
coupled with a leading Horatio Hornblower character. And then forced really to sort of set it in some sort of space Western setting.
Yeah.
Wagon train in space.
Yeah.
And you see those certain stepping stones. I mean, God bless the man. He was commissioned to write a show about Riverboat in the 1860s, and when he found out there were no black people in the show, he was like, "Well, no, I'm not doing this." And he really stuck his neck out, didn't he?
He did. You know, I learn stories all the time, and when I did the documentary Trek Nation,
Yeah, right.
we had a great interview with a writing partner of his back in the day, Chris Knopf,
Yeah.
and he told a story. Was it him? Yeah, I think it was him who told the story of them going to a baseball game. My father said, "I have an idea. Let's go to a baseball game," and my father pitched him this idea of a varied crew going around the United States in a dirigible,
in an airship.
in an
Yes,
airship,
that's
landing
right.
in place to place, solving problems.
Yeah.
And of course, he tells that story as he thinks that's sort of the genesis of where Star Trek came from.
Right.
But you make an excellent point. There's a lot of shows that he did before, cop shows, lawyer shows, that have little tidbits in there.
That episode in The Lieutenant, which was his first major show, To Set
Yeah.
It Right, which
Yep.
was Nichelle Nichols' first ever TV appearance. She's bloody good in it.
Yeah.
That one scene she has with the lad in the car
Yeah.
is fantastic. But he went head to head with the Department of the U.S. military.
Yes, he did.
Because it was about a black Marine and a white Marine coming together and solving their, racial issues. And they didn't like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And God bless him.
We're talking long before Star Trek, too.
Long before.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that half the cast for Star Trek were in that. Walter's in that show. Leonard's in that show. I know DeForest Kelley was in that show. He had 333 Montgomery.
I've heard of that. Yes, I haven't seen it. Yeah, yeah.
He was really putting together... it was your mum that suggested Leonard come back and play Spock.
See,
yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
even know if
yeah.
I knew that. I'm sure I've heard that before, but
Yeah.
I
So,
didn't
but
know.
I just love the fact that he had all these pieces in his mind. His brain must have been going a mile a minute.
My father was a voracious reader. I mean, my father had an incredible life. He was
He was a cop's son.
well, he was also a bomber pilot in World War II in the South Pacific,
89
Guadalcanal
combat
and
missions.
Solomon Islands. I mean, I think he saw the worst of humanity and the best of humanity throughout his life. I mean, he had true. There is something to traveling and getting perspective on the world and meeting new people.
Yeah.
And I think my father did a lot of that, and he read a tremendous amount. He was a voracious reader. He read everything. So I think that gave him I think that's really where Star Trek came from.
All right.
I mean, seeing what the world has and its ugliest part, and then seeing the beauty.
All right. And he was
then-
a hero too. My God, he survived 3 plane crashes.
Was he B-17?
B-17, the Flying Fortress.
Yeah.
There's I
the
believe
biggest bombers they had.
Yeah.
I mean, and 2 of them crashed, and then he flew for Pan Am. He did the
Constellation.
New York, Calcutta, Joburg routes.
Yep, yeah.
And he was flying back from Calcutta to Joburg, and they crashed in the bloody Syrian desert.
He was the only surviving
He was
officer.
it.
Yeah,
2 broken ribs, pulled 2 or 3 people out of the wreckage to save them.
yeah.
And then 2 days in the desert before they got picked up.
Yeah, anyone out there who doesn't know this story, I mean, it's an incredible story on its own. The Oatmeal, which is like a little, it's a little online comic strip that talks about historical figures. They did a great version of this.
Oh,
So if
they
you
did.
look up Roddenberry,
I've
The
seen it.
Oatmeal,
That's right.
it's a great little
It's brilliant.
cartoon version of it.
Yeah.
It just tells the story
beautiful.
beautifully.
Yeah.
Yeah, before Star Trek.
Yeah.
Like people just know him for Star Trek.
Yeah.
His life before Star Trek is just incredible.
And then became an LAPD cop.
And wrote speeches for the chief of police.
And that's how it. Was that how? So he always wanted to be a writer, but that certainly was a segue. He got off the beat writing tickets on the 101 or whatever.
Yeah.
And started writing speeches for the police
He was a
commissioner.
Hollywood beat cop and then
Yeah.
started writing speeches.
And
Yeah.
your other grandfather was also a cop.
Yeah,
Your
the
mum's-
cops.
your mum's
I,
dad.
I stayed away from being a cop. I don't think I was cut out for it.
I
didn't
said
want to
Mark
see them
this
a
morning.
lot.
I said,
Yeah.
you put him in a pair of Ray-Bans and the right light. Yeah, he'd give you a ticket.
Did you have any inkling when you were growing up that you wanted to be involved in any of this at all? I mean, living in LA, it's almost just put in front of you, especially if one of your parents, both of your parents, are in the industry. You know that there's.
You know, being born and raised in LA, I wasn't. My parents didn't push me into. Well, no, actually, I take that back. They did force me to do commercials when I was younger, but I didn't. Yeah, there's. I mean, please don't find them. Don't look. There are like 5 commercials: Kingsford Charcoal, Granola Clusters, Crystal Foods, One to Grow On. Please don't find that one. And Max Steel's Robot Force.
You have work to do, people. You have work to do.
Please don't find that one.
Yeah, so they did have me do that, but I remember on the last one, Max Steel's Robot Force, I was playing and I talked back to the director. Like, I didn't care. I was just there doing what my parents made me do, and I don't know what I said, but I mean, I think that kind of ended my career there, which I'm good with. I'm a terrible actor.
Did you enjoy auditioning or not so much?
No, I mean, I just kind of did what my parents told me
doing
to,
it,
and
yeah.
come here and say these lines, and I'm a terrible actor.
Yeah.
I really am. I'm not just being. I am a horrible actor. So
I'm quite good.
I did not have an interest in getting into the industry until my last year of college, when my mother put Earth Final Conflict together.
Yes, right.
And I thought, this is a good opportunity.
That was a script that was left behind posthumously, was it? Yes.
It was. It was
were a
originally
couple,
called
weren't there?
It was originally called Battleground Earth.
Right.
Which the name was changed because at the time a certain movie came out called Battlefield Earth.
Right.
Which had a certain connotation to it. So we changed the name, and it was right after my father passed away. So this was this time of where I was starting to grow up a little bit quicker and sort of ask questions about life and myself and what my part was going to be. And I started to become more proud of my father, because I would go to conventions and actually talk to fans, and I'd meet people, and I'd hear stories about how Star Trek inspired people. So I then had an interest, like, oh shit, well, I wouldn't mind maybe dabbling in this. I'd love to do something that's worthwhile and means something to people. But,
It was really something.
So what did you do then when you get this idea in your head last year of school and college, and how you would then manifest the next stage of your life?
I didn't know, but it was right at my last year of college, so I knew I had to do something. And at the time, I was, well, for someone who goofed off in high school, I became inspired to try to be an astrophysicist, because Sally Baliunas, who worked at the Mount Wilson Observatory and Harvard Smithsonian, she taught me that you can be smart and cool. This is something for a 17, 18-year-old that was hard for me.
Sure.
As we've
That's like me.
established, I developed very slowly. So she was a astrophysicist who would collect like old military vehicles and chop hot rods. And I was like, oh my God,
That's cool.
I can be smart too?
Yeah.
I've got a lot of catching up to do. So I took a bunch of physics courses and calculus and realized that I may not be cut out for being an astrophysicist. So I went into photography, and then the opportunity to work on the show came up, and I figured I'd try to learn something there. And I moved to Toronto and worked on Earth Final Conflict.
Is that right?
And I learned a great deal.
From the ground up.
Yes, it was actually very important. I had one more year of college to finish. I am a college dropout officially. So yeah, in short, I decided to work on a TV show in Toronto, and it was a phenomenal experience.
Had you done your PA work on set yet? No.
Yeah, we skipped over that.
You skipped. So
Yeah.
you had done some PA because the Akudas were in here a few weeks ago, and were singing your praises about what a great PA you were.
And Mary Howard too, right?
And Mary
Yeah,
Howard
yeah.
too.
Oh, Mary,
Right, high praise indeed.
Yeah, when I was 13, 14, running around the lot during Next Gen,
Yeah.
87, 86, 87, 88, something like
How
that.
about that?
So you never did one of those like get your own goddamn coffee.
No, I never did that. But again, every time I talk about myself, I'm really kind of saying this negative picture. I didn't care about that either. You know, I was 13, 14, 15. I wanted to go play over the summer, and my father was like, "No, you're gonna get a job and learn what it's like, and I'm gonna get you a job." And so I was a PA on Next Generation, and I got to ride the bike around the lot and deliver scripts and coffee and all that sort of, and it was fun. I didn't do what my regret is stopping by the editor's bay and hanging out and paying attention.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Seeing
didn't
how
do
it's
that.
made.
Right.
Yeah.
So I never learned back then how it's made.
Right.
And I had every opportunity in the world, but I mean, I don't give myself too much grief because I was just a kid.
Right. No, you indeed.
Yeah.
So, but now you really are a TV producer, and you are an executive on all the new shows since Discovery.
Yes.
And how in depth do you get in the makings of that sausage?
So I'm one of the many executive producers and one of the many parts to Star Trek, and I'm very proud of the shows, but I'm not one of the upfront creators. Mm-hmm. We of course we receive all the scripts and outlines and everything that comes through, and we have plenty of
You do a lot
Zooms
of
and
reading?
calls.
Yeah.
I do what I'm able to do. So we're certainly a part. We have a seat at the table. We share usually when things. We kind of save it for when things are grossly missed.
Not Trek.
Not Trek.
Right.
And that can vary from opinion to opinion on some level. So we really kind of stay out of those. There's a lot of people involved.
Yeah.
And the writer's room is fantastic, and our showrunners are fantastic. So, and they do get Star Trek. I'm very happy with the new Star Treks, even though they've. First of all, there were 5 shows out, and they're all very different. If you're getting into Star Trek and you don't know which one, the good news is we got 5 different shows, or at least we did. And if you don't like one, try another. If you don't like one, try another. But the people who work on it are now more. There are more fans working on the shows. People who truly like Star Trek. Back in the day, I kind of felt like, and when I say back in the day, 80s, 90s, the divide between fans and content creators and
Yes.
Hollywood creators
Yeah.
was much bigger,
Yeah.
and there was almost sort of a we don't talk to those people, even though you got people like Ron Moore who
Yeah.
came in and
There was a program
did that.
for a bit.
There was a program,
And they read some scripts.
but fans who were at home who just had a passion for it,
Yeah.
they were just sort of let's just feed them what they
like-
want.
yeah.
It just kind of felt that way.
Yeah.
What's your take on having been involved in all of it? There's a line that's been drawn, I think, after the end of Enterprise, where anything prior to that, and including our show, was considered legacy or I don't know, the golden age. And now there's new Trek. And what's your take on the two? Oh, are there two philosophies? Are they the same philosophy?
Enough time has gone by. They are different. The shows today are different. I mean, clearly they're different from that era, as that era was different from TOS era. Today, I mean, the budgets for the effects. I mean, instead of doing 26 episodes a season,
Yeah.
jeez,
I know.
they're doing 10 and 13.
Yeah.
Which, but the budgets and the effects and everything are much higher for that.
It's polished looking stuff, and particularly Strange New World.
It's theatrical as far as I'm concerned.
It's really-
The quality
it really
is there. But I mean, back in the 80s and 90s, I didn't think it was bad either.
No.
That's just all I knew. But by comparison, it's always easy to look
And
back.
year by year, it got better
Yeah.
and more accomplished in its technical. Yeah.
And I also think, this is why I'm not running the show. To make Star Trek for an audience today, you can't do the same thing.
No.
You can't even do it the same way. There's a lot of things to consider, as there were back then, but there's a lot of things to consider. What works on television right now?
Sure.
What's gonna? I mean, to be honest, not that everyone on the show thinks this. In fact, I would say everyone who works on the current shows, as they did back then, love the shows. But there are the bean counters, so to speak, who need to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you do a show with talking heads, or do you do a show with action?
Sure.
And you've got to find that balance because you are doing Star Trek. I mean, and that's where I draw the line is Star Trek is its own thing and needs to be something that's thoughtful and provocative and hopefully at the end gets you to consider, hopefully if it's done right, a different point of view. But the shows today, it's tough. I think it's tough to bring in new people
That line, right?
and create something that's going to make you go, huh, I never thought of it that way.
Right.
Well, it's nice that Terry Metalis got to pick up the baton with the show that rhymes with Rashar. We're doing our best still. The strike's not over yet. It's nearly over.
Yes, almost.
Please, if you feel like donating, by the way, to SAG-AFTRA, the FUD,
The Actors Fund.
If you want to donate to Rod's Foundation, please chip in.
The Roddenberry Foundation.
And if you'd like to help out with the renovation of our studio,
ConnorTrenier.com. Just saying.
It looks great.
The renovation of our studio, by the way,
Yes.
is very exciting. The lovely Liz Klakowski stopped by today with a bunch
She
of
did.
renderings of what
Very
she
cool.
wants to do.
no
to the place.
coffees, I might add.
So we're very excited about what she's going to be doing.
You guys
for
are
us.
building a new studio.
We are.
Yeah.
We're just, these are our new digs. We're
It's our
only
new permanent
recently in
space.
here. And any money you, I might add, any money you donate today will be matched by our lovely dear friend Dave Tabb, who is sitting at the back there.
And his wife.
yes.
Dave
wife
Tabb.
Michelle.
Michelle.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
So this will be the ideal time to putting your hand in
Bang
your
for your
pocket.
buck.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
And
Thank
thank
you
you
very
guys.
much.
I sound like KCRW for
Exactly.
the winter season drive.
Thank you for doing that,
Yes.
Dominic.
The Clarks in Pasadena are going to match
We
everything.
really appreciate it,
Yeah.
and we really appreciated your support last week with the
it means
with the
a great
strike
deal.
episode. Thank you very much.
This is a conversation, right? I'm allowed to ask you guys questions.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, good. Because I feel like it's
No,
anyhow,
yeah,
okay.
you go.
Well, so I mean, you guys and your experience with Star, I'm always curious. People who, what were your thoughts before you entered the Star Trek universe? During and more so now after. I mean, you've had a number of years. You've worked on the show. I'd love to know from each of you, if you don't mind, what were your thoughts initially? You got
I initially didn't have any. And I still
Why am I not surprised by
and I still seldom do. I grew up, my brother.
What do you feel about dog food?
It's great. I grew up like most kids with the reruns
They should eat it.
of the original series and would watch it go, after school.
Your brother was a huge fan.
My brother was a massive fan, and he and his buddies would walk around the perimeter of the school ground at lunchtime talking about the previous day's episode. Now, my brother and I very close, but very different, and so that was his thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got the show, I got Enterprise.
Yeah, he must have been really pissed or jealous.
Well, he tells a story.
The funny
It's rather
thing is
amusing.
that so I get the job, and
For those of you who've heard it before a couple of times, sorry, but it is funny.
The first
Rush
person
to
I
hear it.
call is my brother,
Yeah.
who has like a 1 and a 3-year-old at home, and he's by himself. His wife's teaching, and I call him up, and I'm like, Matt, you're never going to believe this. I just got cast in the new Star Trek. Lily, Ruby, stop touching her cereal. You guys, I got to go.
That was the reaction.
That was it. And I was like, oh.
Did he hear you?
Yeah.
I'm not. He called me back
really.
later, and he was thrilled for me. But at the moment, it was kind of like real life got in the way.
Right. Yeah.
thought he'd be a bit more chuffed.
But I will say that once the show started, I didn't go out into the convention world. And that's really how I found the language and the legacy of what it all is, and the community.
Yeah.
I was terrified to do it. Dom went out early,
I did.
and
First one out.
it took a couple
Seen
of
that Trekkies movie, and I was like, oh,
boy.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's an annuity here.
right.
But frightened beyond belief.
Yeah.
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 Until
you meet the
I
love.
remember it taking a couple of years for me, and really what it came down to is the conversations I would have at the table with people who would walk up and say, I'm an engineer because of your character. You got me through a really difficult time in my life. I would wait for every, whatever it was for us, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, depending on what day it was.
They pushed us around.
But I would, I was going through a very dark time, and all I looked forward to was getting through this week to watch the next episode. And those things,
particularly Dominic Keating, is some.
I hope Dominic's in this one. I found myself, really humbled by what I'd gotten myself into, and awfully proud of it. And honoring.
And a little bit after the fact. I don't want to say completely, but a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, initially it was a gig.
Yeah.
And the greatest gig in the world, really, because it was like, this wasn't a pilot.
We thought we were
this was a show.
We were shooing for 7 years.
Right. My agent said, like, no, you're doing the first episode of your show.
Yeah.
And so that was just, again, that was like the golden ring that year of shows to get. But again, to your point, it took a couple of years, and it took the connection to the people who really, really care about it to then that then bled into me.
The love.
And I began to feel the exact same way. And the longer I've gone away from having done the show, the more impactful it is for me.
As the years have gone by, it deepens and deepens.
Yeah.
I often say it's the fans who brought me into Star Trek, because
your mother,
I didn't really pay attention to it, but it was those stories.
Very respectful of that, wasn't she? And I think she sort of drew that to your attention, didn't she? She made sure she went to at least one big Star Trek convention a year.
The short version is, I went to conventions very young, but again, I still didn't care because Knight Rider was coming on tonight, and I was, going to see. No, I mean that's what it was. I didn't get it.
A talking car. Your mum's the computer, and you watch a talking car.
I know. Yeah. Well, but what really did it was the part that she inspired me was she would get there. And she wouldn't go and sign with the other actors. She would go to her table and she would sign. And what I was always very impressed that she did at conventions is that she would interact.
The time with.
And she would spend 2, 3, 4 hours there signing and then talking to people.
Yeah, God bless.
And it was nice. And it wasn't just a transaction.
Yeah.
And
just like Bill.
Yeah. You said it. I was always very proud to see her do that. And then my father, the few times they'd ever go to anything or speak on stage, he didn't disappear behind the curtain. He would get down off stage and talk to people. So they were very human, and they kind of fought for... They knew the fans were the ones that saved Star Trek. And they never took that for granted. What was your Star Trek? What were you like before Star Trek?
I knew what I was getting into. I'd watched the show as a kid. If I'm truthful, I had walked away from it as a young adult in my teen years. I was not interested in Doctor Who anymore or Star Trek. But as a child, as an 8, 9, 10-year-old, I was mad for Star Trek.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're one of the smart ones.
Yeah. I think it was more of an adventure show more than anything else. I'm not sure I was hearing an ethos or a tenet that, a societal, message. But I just loved the colours, and the fact it was in space, and they did this thing called beaming up, and there were a lot of chiffon-clad ladies, which was very, very interesting to a young man. But like I say, I'd wandered off by the time I was, 13, 14, 15. So getting cast on it, that was as Connor said, it was a bloody good job to get cast on, because it looked like it was a sure thing for 7 years. And
at least for that year.
At least, we knew we weren't just making a pilot.
Yeah.
We were getting a run, and we were at Paramount, man, when it was still an incredible, one of the old timey studios, and those stages and all its history, the whole damn thing was. I just pinched myself. They were halcyon salad days, and they really were, and I'm eternally grateful.
And you guys had a great crew too. It seems like all the shows had a great crew. I wasn't really there, but every story
Scott
I hear,
was,
But everyone's sort of a family member there. Sure, there's maybe little squabbles, but you guys come together as a family all the time.
They've been together for like 17 years.
There was a hardcore of them, about 20 of them.
We were coming onto their show.
Yeah, we were.
Right.
But they opened their arms to us.
Absolutely.
And they treated us with all the respect of of stars arriving at a new show, which was quite heady.
Yeah.
And, Marvin got impatient with me once or twice.
Probably for good reason.
Yeah.
Looking back on it.
Fucking around, Dominic.
Dominic?
There is a lot of Star Trek. I just met one of the writers for Strange New Worlds the other night. Mm-hmm. I just met. I mean, I can blame a little bit of COVID for not doing this, but I mean, I visited I went to the set. I mean, I never went to I have never been to the Strange New World set. I mean, again, mostly from a COVID. Right. I never wanted to be the guy, even though I've got an EP credit, sure, I could stomp my feet and say I want to go, but I don't want to be the guy who killed Patrick Stewart, with COVID or something. So I sort of kept my distance there.
That would be tough.
Yeah, Roddenberry kills Patrick Stewart.
Exactly,
that's probably
it was all going so well.
Yeah, so
amazing.
I felt it best to
what I hear.
to stay away just in case.
And why do you think that it's now the juggernaut that it is? You're on that other side of the line, as it were.
It's interesting you call it a juggernaut. It is doing well, although I don't have all the details and numbers and facts. Fans seem to like it. Let me see if I can answer your question. Aside from Enterprise going off the air, which I didn't agree with, I'm glad that Star Trek had a break. Not because I don't think it's good, not because I don't think people deserve it, and deserve is a relative statement. I didn't mean it that way, but still, it needed to reset, I think. There had been, these 4 shows.
They'd gone to the well, yeah.
Yeah, and sure, the universe is a big place and new ideas can come from anywhere, but I think everything sort of had to change.
Yeah.
I think a shakeup was good for Star Trek as a whole.
Yeah.
And for it to come back, I don't know the math, how many years later, 15 years later, whatever it's been.
Yeah.
I'm now glad it's back.
Certainly 10, wasn't it, by the time Discovery came around?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, 2017 was that?
And then we found this streaming, and you could find your audience in a much more manageable and efficient manner.
Yeah.
Do you think that's part of it? That the way that we watch television now is
Without
really
a doubt.
different?
I mean, 3 million viewers for us was pretty good, but it wasn't enough.
Now
3
that'd be
million
a
now is a hit show.
Right.
Well, and sort of the marvelization of some of these things, Star Wars.
Yeah.
And of course,
we haven't even
Marvel.
talked. I mean, God bless. We all owe George Lucas a debt of thanks.
Absolutely.
That was the catalyst for all this.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And to bring back Star Trek in this way, where there can be multiple stories and multiple timelines happening.
What's the story,
at once.
by the way? Do you know that story about the execs at Paramount going, well, don't we own something like that? And coming round to Beverly Hills and knocking on Dad's door?
So I heard that basically for the motion picture.
Right.
Yeah. So back in 70, I don't know when production began, 75, 76, whatever it was. Yes, apparently Star Wars came out, was a huge success in 77. Was it 77?
77. Yeah.
And the story is the executive said exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Well, don't we have something like this? And then they brought my father in to do it, and of course my father did, I would say, the opposite of the first Star Wars movie in terms of the motion picture.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Which
How
back
so?
then.
What do you mean?
Well, the motion
slow.
picture was very story character. It was about V'ger and where V'ger came from and what it is to be human, and it was
thoughtful.
classic Gene Roddenberry Star Trek.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
But that didn't land as well at the time like Star Wars. Star Wars was action, good, bad, evil, saber fights, laser fights, spaceships, all that.
Wacky aliens getting drunk in bars. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The motion picture wasn't like that.
Hollywood.
Now, being older, I love the motion picture now. I've seen it again recently, especially with its. They've done the. It's not the director's, but it's the director's edition, I believe they call it. They've really cleaned it up quite a bit. But
Suddenly there was this revitalized interest in his old show.
I can't speak for him. What I can say is the fact that Star Trek was canceled after 3 seasons, the original series, and went into syndication, and it was through syndication that it became successful.
Yeah.
It was when all the young people started to watch it. Because 3 years back then, I don't know how many people had TVs. I don't know how many people tuned in. Because remember, it's only on at one time.
I watched it first
on
in black and
Fridays or
white,
whatever.
yeah.
Right.
So if you're not paying attention to that, you're missing it. When it goes into syndication, a lot more people obviously get to see it. And it spoke to a lot of people. It spoke to people who thought about the future in that way.
Right.
This is something worth fighting for. And we are an incredible species.
Yeah.
And so that kind of messaging is what gave it its success. And I don't think my father at the time knew that would happen, but when it did, I think he felt a little bit vindicated that, okay, I'm not the only one who thinks like this.
Did it in any way, the ethos of the whole franchise, influence your foundation work?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, so those who know me, I take Star Trek very seriously. Some might even say too seriously. Sometimes I can't see the forest through the trees. If someone wants to ask me what I think of Star Trek in private and what I think of particular shows and episodes and certain things, I will share very personally how I feel that I wouldn't necessarily say right now, because I am so too close to Star Trek. It's sometimes hard for me to see the forest through the trees. You know, sometimes I call it, this is great Roddenberry Star Trek or Gene Roddenberry Star Trek, and this is Star Trek, to try to make the delineation between Star Trek that really makes you think and has a message. And it doesn't necessarily need to beat you over the head, but as I said earlier, if you're not coming away from an episode with just a little bit of, I never thought of it that way, or that was a good idea, or that's made me think, or now I'm going to look at something a little differently, then I don't think it's Roddenberry Star Trek. It's probably great acting, it's probably great storytelling, it's probably great effects, but if it's just entertainment, well, we've got Star Wars for that.
All right.
That's my personal take on Star Trek.
Science fiction, as it was once described to me.
What's that?
Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I was like, what now? I goes, what's Star Trek? He goes, science future reality.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Really?
Mate. Yeah. I was at a meet and greet breakfast, 8:30 in the morning, quite early on. But I have to say, I take that on board.
Yeah, my experience with fans like you guys, as they shared their stories and I began to learn about this, you know, I'm very, very proud of my father, and I'm very proud to be a part of Star Trek. And I do believe in that future. I do believe in our potential. Even though sometimes, including these days, things seem very dark, I do see the good in people. And it's when you meet the scientists, when you meet the people out there that are working towards our long-term advancement, whether it's in a foundation, medical industry, whatever the case may be, or simply individuals who are looking that far ahead, 10, 20, and 50 years ahead, and trying to solve problems, not just put Band-Aids on things. That is really why we started the foundation. I believe in that Star Trek message. I know there are people out there who are trying to make that future a reality, and that's who we're supporting.
Well, that segues us very neatly into something I wanted to talk to you about, which is the foundation and your incredibly generous grant of $5 million to the Gladstone Institute up in San Francisco. And
They're an incredible organization.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
Yeah.
And the work, I did a lot of reading about them and the work they're doing with stem cell technology.
Yes.
Induced pluripotent stem cell technology.
Yes.
I half know what this is. So
You might know more than me then.
Did
you have nothing to do this week?
You know, the usual picking my ass. Are you working with Dr. Yamanaka and Dr. Takahashi, who won the Nobel Prize for their work in 2012-ish?
Well, we started with them, but the organization has really been incredible. Deepak Srivastava.
Yes, who is running the institute.
I probably just brutalized his last name.
Is he running the research center for?
Well, he's now running the entire.
He's running the entire thing now.
Yes.
Isn't he? Yeah.
But we met with him early on, and I still know nothing, but I knew even less back then, and of course had heard of stem cells, and back then it was the embryonic
and the controversy
around that. So first hearing that, I was like, oh, well, I don't know if we want to do that.
Right.
But then they introduced the pluripotent stem cells, which it was explained to me. You can take an adult male or female, or anyone for that matter, take a skin cell, do your science magic, and you can reverse engineer that into a heart cell,
whatever
or
cell
a
you
lung
choose
cell,
to,
or any sort of other tissue in the body. There's certain
Hitherto,
things
they never thought they could do.
Right. And so the implications of being able to, let's just say heart disease for someone, if you could take their skin cell, you could grow it into a sheet of cells, and then you can test drugs on it
and it's
without
individual
compromising
to that
the person.
Specific to that individual.
Because everyone with a heart condition, they can't take the same medications. No. There are so many different medications out there. And what blew me away was when they told me this, and then they showed me a video of looking through a microscope of a sheet of beating heart cells, which was taken from an adult male skin cell.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
isn't it?
and then of course you can get into creating organs and all sorts of things, which the science for that is still far off. But again, this is an organization that's working towards the long-term advancement of our species.
But it's the beginning of growing organs.
It is the beginning.
of growing a healthy pancreas.
Yeah.
Or,
So
or
that's
liver.
what really got us excited.
Or perhaps a part of a brain where Alzheimer's is destroying it.
Yes.
Exactly
You
that.
know?
Exactly that.
Yeah.
So
How did you find them? Or did they find you?
No. Andy Garb, one of our board members, had been working with them for years. And when we put the board together, I brought in people that I trusted, people that have been in my life for a long time. And he's always he was a litigator, but he's one of the kindest, sweetest men I know. And he told us about this organization, and of course, being brand new, we said, all right, we'll fly up and talk to them.
And you give awards individually and to different companies annually for
We do.
work they're doing.
You have other initiatives,
Yeah.
don't you? With the Plus One Global.
We've got the global, we've got the fellowship, we've got
fellowship,
the catalyst,
the
and we've
catalyst,
got a
yeah.
prize, and different variations of each. These are different, basically, are ways to give out different levels of money to different people who are. Some people are working in their community to make a difference in a relatively small level, and then some people are. In some of our recent elections and political climates, we kind of moved into supporting people who are trying to bring equality and
Level the playing ground.
Yes.
Political, yeah.
It's hard,
instability.
but we're really trying to get into these different areas. Our prize is the one that I'm usually really excited about. People hear about prizes all the time. We're not doing anything too different, but each year we're focusing on something different. Last year we found a company that they didn't end up winning our prize, but they did not end up winning our prize, but they were phenomenal because they have found a type of dirt, material in the earth that absorbs carbon faster than anything
Oh, I
else.
was
And they've
listening
been
to
mining
this on
this,
the
and
radio
they put it
recently,
on the
yes.
beaches.
Yeah.
And what's impressive is, and I don't know the numbers, the rate at which it absorbs
yes.
carbon compared to everything else.
Pretty extraordinary, isn't it?
And so anyone who's out there with these kinds of ideas, who's really trying to make a significant impact for the betterment of all humanity,
Right.
that is who we love.
Or even locally in their community. And I think you've been looking at John Billingsley and the Hollywood Food Coalition.
Absolutely, yeah.
And have been helping out there. So God bless you for that.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, John's a really good man.
Yes, and John's an
And
example
Bonnie
of...
Friederici, we should mention. John always gets the accolade. But
That's true, that's
Bonnie's
true. He
God
puts
bless
his
him.
money where his mouth is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is knee deep in there.
He
He's
is.
not just a celebrity trying to raise money. He's doing it.
He's doing it. I was there.
I'm not
when-
telling you anything you
I
don't
actually
know.
went
He's
for
been on the
first
show
time
already, but
on
I'm
Sunday.
blown away.
I
yeah.
went to the church on Sunday, and we bagged up 2,300 packed lunches on Sunday morning, and it was.
He basically put his career on hold for a couple of years to
I think longer.
to head the.
He's been doing this for
Hollywood Food
7 years now.
Coalition. But he ran it.
But he ran the whole
Yeah.
thing, for
Yeah.
a long time. He's
Yeah.
he's
And
a-
Bonnie.
He's a
Bonnie.
mensch, yeah, and Bonnie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very impressed by that.
And the fellowship is so you this is again you diverse students from all walks of life in the country and
Yeah, people who are trying to make a difference either in their community or in a relative, I don't want to say small, but in their own way, city, community, whatever, trying to give them the training and the funds to get their messaging out there so that they can help more people is really what it is in the end. So we're definitely excited about supporting that. I believe in that Star Trek future. It's going to take a lot of people, but we need to get there.
well, I'm right
So-
behind you, Rod. I have to
And
say.
money alone isn't going to solve it. And by the way, our foundation is tiny compared to the kind of change that needs to happen. Requires huge amounts of money, far beyond what we can do to make global impact.
Yeah.
We are a drop in the bucket, but what I'm also proud of our organization doing is partnering up with other foundations. Because the problem is there's a lot of foundations, a lot of people are doing philanthropy, and they're all kind of doing like maybe overlapping, or some of them are doing the same thing. If we can somehow communicate better with each other
Right.
and say, hey, we want to help this area. What are you doing? Oh, you're doing that too. Where are you having issues? Oh, okay. We'll change and kind of work on that area while you...
morph into that with you, so that agreed.
That's just, it's necessary.
Yeah. And it's economically more viable. You spend less money in the organization and the administration of foundations, A lot of money goes in that, we know,
Yeah.
and Well,
And you just give money and then let them do their thing.
We do. That's why I'm so impressed when people are actually doing it, because it's very easy to give money. Yeah.
much like John and the coalition, you know, they're worthy, of the. And please remember, our benefactor Dave Tabb today is doubling your support. So this is the time, people.
Please
If you want-
contribute
if you
to the
want-
Actors
if you want-
Fund.
If you want to support the Actors Fund, the foundation, or help us get this studio shipshape, this is the day.
And
That actually
ConnorTrinier.com.
brings us Daniel Seo, $5. Hey guys, love the show. Rod, aside from producing the current Star Trek series, what other projects are you working on?
So quickly, I don't want to say too much because the thing in Hollywood, if you say something before it happens, I'm not worried about the superstition of jinxing it. I just don't want to promise anything. But I will
So no
say,
legacy show.
well, no. So, we're sorry, trying to figure out what I can say. My father, as we discussed, had an incredible life, and I think that life needs to be shared. Everything before Star Trek, and so we are working on a feature film and a TV series and a documentary to really show who the man was. And what's important is that when I did my documentary Trek Nation, I wanted to show the faults of Gene Roddenberry too, because I knew him as Dad. I didn't see him as the Great Bird. I mean, I knew him when he got mad and yelled at me. I saw him in every form. And I think that's an important part of learning who he was and that you can still be an incredible person, a great person, even if you're incredibly flawed.
And you're human.
Absolutely. And it sounds really ridiculous to say he was human. I know everyone knows he was human. But I think there's a problem when people put so many people up on a pedestal and they look up to them.
Yeah.
The minute you put someone up there and can't identify with them and can't connect with them, then you take that away from yourself.
That's interesting.
You don't have the ability to think that maybe I can do that one day. The minute you see them in their truest light and recognize that they've also done these incredible things, now you can connect. And that's, as a son, that's how I connected with my father through the documentary. Is that I was able to find out some dark stories about him. I mean, nothing too bad, but just some real human stories. Right. And that was the man I could love. That was the man I could connect with.
No, there was controversy in his life, not least professionally and personally.
Yeah.
You're a flawed man in a flawed business. In Hollywood is
absolutely.
It's a tricky game here.
Women, drugs, all of that was a part of his life.
Yeah.
So they're very interesting stories. So that's what I'm doing now and next and for a while.
Very cool.
God bless you.
Yeah.
All right, would like to get back to this so that they don't pile up so much.
Sorry. Yep.
We've got Crazy Ghostbusters again, another $5. Star Trek isn't just for entertainment. It is hope for our people of what we can accomplish. We can get there. It starts with a dream of Star Trek. Thank you very much, Crazy Ghostbusters.
Thank you.
Very nice to say I look like my dad, but I'm much shorter. But I'm starting to get the belly as well.
He was a tall man, your dad, wasn't he?
6'3", yeah.
6'3". I was
6'3".
looking at a picture of him at the space shuttle launch or the return of.
Yeah.
Yeah, big bloke.
I'm a monstrous 5'7", so we'll just be 5'8" with you.
John 2000. I don't know if it's a capital I or an L, a lowercase L. I'll never figure that out. But John, $100. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Rod looks like his dad at his age. I was watching Gene Roddenberry and his commercials to bring Star Trek, the original series, in 1967 to television. Spent a lot of time imagining what the world of Star Trek would turn out to be. So John's been around since the beginning. That's awesome. Thank you, John, very much. Marcus McLaughlin, $2. Thank you for the contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ryan BBS, $200. Thank you, Dave, for matching today. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Oh, that got Dave to look up. Yeah. He's been down at his phone.
You should have a Dave cam. So
Dave
every,
cam.
every large number that comes in, you can see his face go like, oh my God, what's going on? Come on, everyone, let's make Dave squirm.
John 2000 again, another $50. If you are getting a match, this is the time to make it great. I'm adding another $50 to my original contribution.
Thank you.
Come on, everyone! Awesome. Time to throw whatever you can afford to give. This keeps a fantastic show going.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated and heartfelt.
Jennifer Lynn, $20. Star Trek has brought me and my family members closer together. All Trek is good Trek. Hashtag SAG-AFTRA, hashtag labor rights. Thank you.
I've got a question for you guys after. Go ahead.
Hashtag All Trek is good Trek. That's our favorite here. Shane Abel, thank you for becoming a new member. That is amazing. Thank you. Welcome to the family. Same with Paul. Congratulations. Thank
Very
you
nice.
for being welcome to the family. Dave Gregory, $50. Many thanks at Shuttlepod Show and Rod for continuing this loving Trek community. These groups have been therapeutic and a great way to bond between cons. And thank you for your guest. Thank your guest, Dave, for his generosity.
Yes.
Thank you, Dave.
Hashtag All Trek is good Trek. Can't wait for more. JR Poole is a new member. Thank you, JR, for becoming a new member.
Thanks, JR.
Crazy Ghostbusters, $2. Thank you. Enterprise deserves a 5th season.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
6th and 7th, at least.
Right.
And 6 and 7, yeah. War Dogheim, welcome, War Dogheim. Good to see you, sir. $50, thank you. From the blue skies of Montana, I see thee. Thank you, War Dogheim.
It's very poetic.
Nina, €10, thank you. Hit
thank
the
you,
like
Nina.
button. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nina.
On the road, $200. Thank you
All right.
so much for the contribution.
Actually, $199.99.
$199.
I noticed that sort of thing.
Yes, you do. Pranakasha?
Oh, that's
Productions?
Matt Weiss. Thank you, Matt.
Oh, Matt, thank you so much. $20. Love you guys. He was the one with the cello.
Yes.
Who
STL.
came to our live Q&A.
Cello man.
In Vegas.
Yeah.
I missed that one. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's great.
Orion
plays
BBS.
Orion B.
Yeah.
Sean, you're pushing the envelope here. It's good.
$100. Dave! Exclamation point.
Yeah, Dave.
Ken Bird, 50 super sticker. Thank you, Ken, so much. Sarah Falk, $10, $9.99.
Thank you,
Dom.
Sarah.
Very nice.
This one goes out to the induced plural. I can't even read.
Stem cells.
Pluripotent
Potent stem cells.
Very nice.
Thank you,
Dr.
Sarah. Sean O'Sullivan, €2. Less Academy, 31 more Legacy and Prodigy. Thank you, Sean, for the support. More Legacy. More Legacy.
Yes, more legacy. I have to think that's me. That's me.
and Prodigy, by the way. Prodigy is I do love all Star Treks, but Prodigy is one of my favorites.
That's a shame.
Prodigy
they
is so
can,
good.
It is a
don't
shame.
quite get it. I mean, I've seen a couple of them. They're good.
They are very
They have an
good.
audience.
They're a great intro into what Star Trek is.
Yeah.
Anyone who hasn't seen Star Trek or doesn't get Star Trek, I would put them on Prodigy because it asks all the questions that they're going to ask.
Right.
What is it about this? What's the Starfleet thing? Why do people like the show? What's this? What are the ethics? It is beautifully done.
What was the thinking? Was it CBS that decided they didn't want to redo this?
To be honest, I'm not involved in that side of it. So between Nickelodeon and CBS, they had a partnership on it, and it doesn't seem that worked out. We'll just say
There's Hollywood for you.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
in a nutshell.
But hopefully, it is such a good show. It deserves to be out there.
Looking
So-
at your father's history of being in town, I mean, there were so many failed pilots.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
many
yeah.
failed scripts.
Well,
so
Star
many
Trek
near-
itself was
Star
failed.
Trek itself. I
Right.
mean, what an extraordinary story that it took all that years and traipsing it around studios to finally get to Desilu.
Yeah.
To finally get them to put, and then the whole, mess of the first pilot.
Yeah.
And extraordinary story.
And Lucille Ball. Thank you,
Lucille.
Oh,
God
my
bless.
goodness.
Yeah.
Absolutely. See, my understanding is she's the one that signed off on Star Trek. When my father pitched it to a bunch of other studios, they all turned it down.
Yeah.
And Lucille Ball was running Desilu at the time, and
They were looking for something.
they
weren't
were looking for
Yeah.
something, and she took a risk.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a bummer to think about is that from her point of view, 3 years later, it was the wrong call to make because it was canceled. It didn't bring in the numbers.
Indeed.
Now, looking at it from today,
Yes.
obviously,
Not at all.
she did make the right call.
And I tell you one little fact that leapt out of me, that 47 days after the last episode of Star Trek aired, Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon with Apollo 11.
Oh,
And,
yeah, okay. Well, I knew that was around then, but that
that's
number 47
extraordinary
comes
sort
up
of,
a
yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
How timely it was. And so, and then God bless the fans.
Yeah.
Well, that could segue us into fan questions.
Fan questions.
Okay.
First, we have to thank William Dorr for
we didn't let you finish.
$100
Sorry.
to
Sorry,
our
William.
website.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have to thank Nancy Congdon, $50.
Oh, bless you, Nancy.
Thank you,
To our
Nancy.
website. Thank you
Big
so much.
supporter.
Um,
And your dad's the first TV writer to get a star on the Hall of Fame.
Yes,
Walk of
I've been
Fame.
told that as well.
Really?
First, I
Yep.
mean, as we
First
discussed
ever.
earlier, he had.
Do you know whereabouts it is? On
I
the,
do.
On the wall? Where?
I know exactly where.
Whereabouts is it?
There is I believe, a Mexican restaurant. It's just east of Las Palmas on
Right.
the
On-
north side
On Hollywood Boulevard.
Of Hollywood Boulevard.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I know the joint. You can sit outside there on that joint.
You
Yeah,
can
it's
sit
right
out,
there,
yeah,
is it?
right out,
Yeah,
right out on it.
Yeah.
But we were mentioning it earlier. His early career, that's where his real success came from before Star Trek.
Yeah.
And Star Trek was his failure.
He advised on
Interesting.
Dragnet.
And Dragnet.
Yeah.
So we're doing a podcast right now called Genealogy,
Uh-huh.
which
Oh, I've heard
goes
about this.
into all of these things. It is very sort of a niche show, but we've got two great hosts who kind of dig into what Hollywood was like back then, what
Right.
society was like back then.
Right.
And it's not about the shows, but it's about Gene Roddenberry, to try to see how that man, as the question we discussed earlier, these little threads, these little tidbits that led to Star Trek, is there a thread?
Yeah.
And what was that thread? And how did that change?
And he didn't seem perturbed or put back or knocked down that one idea would be would be told no. He'd just go away and
Thick
invent
skin.
another thick skin, man. And he'd
He-
go away and invent another idea, whether it was a cop show or
He was in 2 plane crashes
Western
and fought
show.
in World War II. I think when an executive says we're not going to take it, I think you've seen worse.
Yeah. Well put.
And I think that's probably a great way to come into Hollywood because it is brutal, as you
Yeah.
guys know.
Yeah. Right.
And I imagine, as people have expressed, have been down at their lowest point.
I could have done with a couple of plane crashes.
Well, but I'm saying they're
No, I'm not.
when you
being-
have
I'm
that
being
perspective,
facetious.
right?
Yeah, no kidding.
The big things in life versus
Yeah.
this. So I
No, I really want
It's
to
all gravy after that.
doing
Yeah,
the
right.
reading about him. I really admired the tenacity.
yeah.
And of course the talent, and he could turn his hand to any genre,
Yeah.
whether it was Western or police procedural or
And he did some bombs too.
yes,
He definitely did some
Yeah.
bombs too. Pretty Maids All in a Row was
Yeah.
not.
That was after the fact, when the 70s was.
I'm not sure that's socially acceptable
No.
today.
Yeah, the 70s had some quite. He worked with the Vadim guy, didn't he? And something I forget what that
Roger?
was. Roger Vadim, yeah. So a bunch of girls with not much, But the 70s were definitely a sketchy time for Mr. Roddenberry.
My father
Yeah.
did love the ladies,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
and the costumes at the time seemed to be very revealing, and he seemed to be a fan of that.
Right.
And I think the argument was, and I'm obviously not one to speak on any as an authority on any of this, but the idea that a woman can dress provocatively and own it as power and have control of that power and be proud of it, or can be a subject, can be second-class citizen and just an object for a man to do with as he pleases. So there's that. So
Yeah.
I think whatever his intent was at the time, he stood behind the line of empowering women in that respect. But he was also male. And
And a product of his time.
and a product of his time.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, those are the interesting stories. Those
Oh,
are the
I
ones
bet.
that I like to hear about and listen to and find out about when it comes to anyone, for that matter.
Now, I'd heard that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that back in the day when there was this whole sort of community of folks at JPL, science fiction writers. There was this small group of people who hung out together, and your dad was a part of that, wasn't he?
So I don't know that he hung out with them, but I know he corresponded and knew people there, Caltech and JPL.
Right.
The great book by Stephen Whitfield called The Making of
Yes,
Star Trek.
yeah.
If anyone out there wants to know about behind the scenes, at least of the original series, that is an incredible book that follows a lot of the documentation. My father would correspond with people at Caltech and JPL and say, hey, we need I think there was something like this in there. We need a non-lethal weapon. And they would say, well, we currently have lasers, but we're working on a phasing laser. So that's where the phaser came from.
Right.
And it would be that sort of correspondence and all sorts of things with the cast.
Very fortuitously, he went
Yeah.
in on a 50-50 publication deal with your dad.
Yeah.
Not expecting it to do much.
Yeah.
Oh, that worked out. This guy, Stephen Whitfield, it worked out pretty good.
And he hired some of the great sci-fi writers of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Asimov. Yeah.
and-
Now, a lot of his work was inspired by, as a child, he read and watched E.E. Smith, the Skylark series.
And John Carter and
John
a lot of
Carter.
those classics. I haven't read them, but
Yeah,
yes.
I had a look at those, and you can see the direct lineage, particularly from E.E. Smith. I mean,
My father stood on the shoulders of other giants, for sure, as we all do.
Yeah.
yeah.
So there were. I mean, Star Trek is. When I say I love Star Trek and I take it seriously, please, no one take it as it is the only thing out there that has a good message. It is just obviously where I came from, and I put it in that category of something that I am proud to try to carry on to the best of my ability. But there are so many great stories,
you
and
sure
ideas, and philosophers, and
And interestingly,
People out there,
you know,
so-
as a in your part, you know, your hobby life, your personal life, rather than looking up, you look down. You're a huge dive master, aren't you? You've done 1,000 dives. You love the underworld of the ocean.
I haven't been in there for a while. I've kind of, since COVID, I've kind of stepped away from it, but I do need to get back. I'd say diving was my number one thing. I'm not religious, I'm not spiritual, but being underwater
experience.
was seriously my only version of spirituality, because the minute I'd go under, like, I'd just get calm. Like, it was just my happy place. And
There's a symmetry to it all down there.
there's and not only that, the grandeur, the amazing fact that you are the fish out of water. You are
Yeah.
in another world, and everything your equipment is the only thing keeping you there. And you get to see real aliens, and you get to float.
Yeah.
And you get to see light in a different way and matter in a different way, and have so many different physical conditions from the ocean as opposed to just wind. And it's the closest thing to being on another world
Sure.
as you can get to.
I have to say, magical, extraordinary world. I got to tell you, when you're 50 feet down and you look up,
Yes.
that's a bloody long way.
Or you look out
yeah.
and there's nothing.
Then
Every
one time-
emotion.
One time, as you say, being eddied, and I was with my dive buddy who was looking after me, and of course I'd been told, whatever you do, don't grab onto the coral.
Yeah.
And suddenly we were going through this tunnel, and I grabbed onto the coral, and my thumb was just lacerated. We come around the corner into this sort of amphitheater that the coral had made. And there's a fucking shark there. Quite a big one.
You are at the ocean's will.
And
you're bleeding. And you're bleeding.
I'm bleeding like a stuck pig.
Please stop. Please stop.
That's hilarious.
Don't fuck up now, dude.
That's awesome.
It's a humbling experience.
I should have gotten you guys out for the dive team back when I was
I'll tell
doing
you,
that.
I
Yeah, I
wouldn't
would
mind
love to.
going back again. It's been 15 years, I think, since that experience. If I could find a quietude that you say you've found, because
I'm getting there too. I
Yeah.
need the calmer waters. I need the yes. I've slowed down.
I would be,
I've slowed down a
and
bit.
if you can, paddy me up with someone, I would love to come out. Yeah.
Well,
So,
first I'll jump back in the water and
Yeah.
get my hopefully skills up a little bit, and then I'll take
Yeah,
a
be
few
cool.
more red shirts back in.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
Oh,
even
no.
going, I understand. I had
When I
friends
started?
that
sorry.
They just go out. Sorry, darling.
No, that's fine.
I had friends that they go out to Catalina alone, and just
Yeah.
being in the kelp beds is quite lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, California waters can be gorgeous.
Yeah.
But they can also be crap too, obviously.
Right.
So there's a lot of gear here. I mean, you're putting on a lot of weight, and a lot of gear.
Yeah, and it's cold.
a lot
bit.
of weight, and
Yeah.
it's cold. And
Yeah.
so for me, it's definitely got to be worth it. So
Yeah,
I lean
right.
towards the tropics now that in my
Right.
sissier years.
Now, I know you, when you did marry Heidi, I know the lovely story of you hiding the ring in a shell. That
Yes.
was beautiful, man.
Yes, that was a
And
very
proposing, 60 feet down. Yeah.
60 feet down, and I was running out of air. Yes, because she wouldn't come down to look at the shell that I had found.
Oh my god.
No!
No, I've got something over here.
I was going to ask how old you were when you started and what inspired you, or did somebody inspire you?
Yes, I mean, I started in 93, and I don't know how old I was in 93, so 18, something like that.
Yeah.
And you know what inspired me? Turning 16, and by that I mean getting out of the house. So I consider myself somewhat of a rebellious kid. There are people who are far more rebellious, but I wanted to get out of the house. I wanted my independence. And so when I got my driver's license, first thing I did is got out of the house. And then I found like this adult thing to do because I had two people on the Paramount lot when I was working there as a PA in the Deep Space Nine art department. In the TNG art department, there were two people there who told me about diving. And it was just a little thing. And the connection I had at that moment was, this is an adult thing that I can do on my own and drive to.
Yeah.
And so I wanted that feeling of doing something on my own. Cool. So that's what started it.
Wow.
And then the magic happened once I got it. Yeah.
Some questions?
Oh,
Yes.
Yes. Are you guys ready for fan
Yes.
questions?
Please.
Okay. Let's see here. A friend of the show, Bonnie Gordon. Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, Bonnie.
Real question for him.
Uh-oh.
That's you.
Okay. I'm being set up, I feel.
Everyone always talks about how he feels his father would think about the new Trek happening. But what would his mother think?
Ooh.
His mother was such an integral part of so many Star Trek series. Do you think she would love what Star Trek has become and seeing characters she created live on in other series?
Okay. This, how do I keep this short, honest, and not... Okay. My mother was... Well, for those who don't know, my mother was Lwaxana. I'm going to do a little sidebar here.
Go ahead.
When they created the character Lwaxana, it wasn't, we've got this character Lwaxana, who are we going to cast? It was, Gene is going to put Majel in the show. We need a character. All right, let's create this obnoxious, kind of crazy, boisterous woman who will be Troy's mother. She was like that in real life. She really never held her opinions. She would share. In fact, my parents were members of a golf club, and that golf club had a men's grill on Thursdays, and she was the only woman who would go down there and have the attitude of, yeah, you try to stop me. And she would sit with the men, and they'd be smoking cigars, and she would tell, the dirty jokes right along with them. So
I've played up there. I know that courtyard that they sit on. Yeah.
So all this is leading up to, if she were here today, she would definitely have strong opinions. She also protected the hell out of my father, even when he was wrong. So I don't know. I know she'd be proud of the shows, but I also know she would have very strong opinions because, like me, she was close to Star Trek and believed in that optimism, believed in that sort of positive side of Star Trek, believed in us being better humans in the future. And all the bickering and all the BS that we have today, every time we get angry or upset with each other or think, I hate this person, we have intellectually evolved to a better state, hopefully not perfect, but better, where we are able to, instead of getting angry at someone, try to understand them, try to empathize. I mean, I can say this, it's hard to do, but say, I disagree with you, let's have a conversation. I mean, that's the ideal, that's the only way we're going to survive as a species, is to somehow, I don't want to say subdue our emotions, but control them a bit more, and then have that empathy to understand whatever this person is doing or saying, it's coming from another place. They're hurt somehow, they're dealing with their own stuff. Is there a way that we can have a dialogue that makes us both better?
Well, there's a lot of more resources
Thank you.
and outlets for people to be able to feel comfortable doing that now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she believed in that future, so she wants to make sure that would be in all Star Trek.
Very cool. Good. Well, it's Riles on Instagram. Hi, Riley.
Hi, Riley.
Hi, Riley.
You're awesome. What do you think the world needs to do today in order to reach the almost utopian Star Trek society? Do you think that Gene's vision can actually be reached? Why or why not?
So this is just my idea. And I'm going to use this word. I'm going to use the word education. And I don't mean STEM. I don't mean science, arithmetic. I don't mean that. I mean having a more exposure to the world, more exposure to different cultures, more understanding of the diversity on our planet, not just in form, but in idea. And the fact that there are people on the other side of the planet or next door who might have an idea completely opposite than yours, and it's okay. And we should all be more comfortable and able, the same thing we were just discussing, but to have that dialogue without sort of arguing and bickering and fighting. And so when I say education, I mean having critical thinking at a young age in schools, giving people exposure to different cultures, to the very concept that there can be opposing points of view, and from that an informed decision can be made, and that we can all grow together. So I don't have the actual answer. I can sort of spew this sort of stuff. I'm working on it, but that's how I think. That's how I think we get there. And again, I'm talking like I do it. Trust me, like us all, especially if it gets into politics. I'm like, oh, that stupid whatever, or in personal relationships, lose my temper.
I swear at KCRW regularly.
Yeah, and we've all done it, right? We've all had an argument, and then later on we feel bad because we're able to sort of reflect and be like, oh, I know I shouldn't have said that because they were really just looking out for me, or whatever it was. So
I think books staying in schools and libraries is
Absolutely.
vital.
Yeah. I think
Whether you
teaching
disagree with them or not.
teaching meditation at an early age, I think, would go
Yeah, I
a
would
long
agree
way.
with
all of that, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I didn't mean no school. I just meant not just school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone leave school. That's how the future becomes.
And don't watch Star Trek.
Yeah, right. It's all Star Wars.
Erica, before we go on, let's hit a couple more from our chat room. We have 500 people in our chat right now. Laura Storm became a new member. Thank you. Welcome to the family, Laura.
Yes,
Thank you,
welcome,
Lauren.
Laura.
TC, $10. Love this show.
Cool name, Laura, by the way.
Yeah.
Sam 524, $20. Connor in
Mark, read this slowly.
Connor
Yeah.
in the Star Trek Section 31 novels. Trip did not die. The explosion was a cover-up for him joining Section 31. Thoughts?
Sure.
Fiction.
Sure. Sure.
You don't think you're dead?
I'm dead until they bring me back.
No. Okay.
$100 to bring him back.
Well, I mean,
$199.99. He's all yours.
Josiah Guernsey, $5. May I ask what you thought of Andromeda?
I didn't really watch it. I was a little concerned that it was going to be Hercules in space, and the little bits I did see, it seemed a little bit like that. I think it had good aspects to it, but I didn't like what I saw. I didn't think it was a bad show, just not my cup of tea.
Dan Tom Lung, $20. Thank you. How possible and feasible would it be to bring back Enterprise as an animated series created by the animators of Prodigy, Technicolor, and where the animated series starts before the episode Trip Tucker died?
I have to die again?
Every episode you die again.
Oh, nuts.
Anything's possible, but I know that the sights are set looking forward. There seemed to be a not wanting to go back to the well too much. Now Picard, they realized that doing that show, you really had. Sorry, I put it on.
Oh, that's amazing.
Put it on.
That's a tricorder.
Yes, Captain.
Yeah.
Or communicator.
I think they realized it's hard to have Picard without the rest of the cast. Not impossible, but I feel like you owe it to the fans if you're going to bring them back. But I think the rest of the stuff they're looking for it.
All right.
Not me, $20. Thank you.
Thank you.
Not you.
Appreciate that.
Welcome.
Canadian $20, so it's
About 1775.
it's
We
Canadian.
appreciate it. Not
Thank
me.
you. Orion BBS, $100 to bring Trip back.
All right.
Wow.
Fair enough. Dominic sold me down the river for $100. Really appreciate it.
Ryan, I think, has given quite a bit.
He
so,
has.
that's,
Yeah.
Good on you,
I don't know if
Ryan.
you're just worth 100. I mean, he's given
Might
a
be
lot.
worth more
so
than 100.
I think. Well, not from. I think
I like
Ryan's
to
given
think
quite
so.
a bit. Other people can.
Well,
Ryan's
technically,
good.
that's worth 200 because we're being matched
Yes.
by Mr. and Mrs. Dave.
Oh, I'll do it for $200. Definitely.
Oh, you will.
Robin Castles, $10. This is my favorite shuttle pod episode yet. The
thank
Great
you.
Bird Still Soars.
Nice.
Nice. Thank you.
Rye Bollinger, Canadian, $5. Hello, good sir. Please license out, fund a new Star Trek sim game. Star Trek needs a new Star Trek Bridge Commander.
Yeah.
Stargazer Macmillan, $5.
Appreciate the vote of confidence. I'm not sure that's the best idea, but I do appreciate where it's coming from.
It says Paramount should give Rod the ownership of Star Trek. They can see what you've written. Put it on the screen. When
Yes, I'm
From their
Interesting I
cold,
read.
dead hands.
At some point, your dad sold the rights to Paramount for like 500 grand.
well.
Was it just the original show?
No, so what you're talking about happened much later, and that was to tie up loose legal ends. That's different.
It is, isn't it?
As you go, and, as you know, and many people do in Hollywood. Typically, if you're a nobody, you sell your idea to a studio or a network. And my father was, even though he had a successful career at that time, there wasn't a Spielberg. He wasn't anything like that, so he couldn't dictate his own terms. So he came in and he sold it. And when you sell the idea, you retain some sort of creative control. You retain producer, whatever title you need,
Right.
etc. But it was owned by Desi Liu, and then NBC, and then Paramount, and now CBS and Paramount.
So that's where that.
So
okay.
it was sold from the beginning.
Right.
What people I think are kind of getting caught up on is the fact that when he died, it didn't pass to me. It doesn't. When you die,
Yeah.
it's done.
You see, when you die,
It's done.
it's done. Oh my God! The horse's bloody mouth. Can we put this to bed now?
I sad.
That is our best-selling T-shirt, by the way.
Trip's not
The
dead.
hashtag Trip's Not Dead.
What'd you just do?
Robbie Mines, $5. I love the show. Thank you so much for the work, mutual benefit, and fan fiction. Good shit.
Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robbie, so much. Ronan Fay, €10. Love Shuttle Pod and love seeing a certain someone's spoiler-free return on very short treks the other day.
That'd be Trip, by
Yeah.
the way.
Well, Lieutenant Reed was on the cover of the puzzle box in Lower Decks.
in Lower Decks.
Yeah, in Lower Decks. Yeah.
Yes, it was brought to my attention.
Thank you, Ronan.
Good check.
Nina, €5. Thank you.
No.
Rod.
Thank you, Nina.
What is a book that has changed your life and/or has stuck with you ever since you read it?
I know I'm not a voracious reader like my father, but I have read a few. I guess I got to say Cosmos by Carl Sagan. I really enjoyed. I'm sorry, not Cosmos. Contact by Carl Sagan.
Okay.
I don't know if it's changed my life, but that's the first thing that comes to mind. I just really loved it. Really. Sorry, I'm not really answering your question, but that's the answer for now.
Jeff Harbert, $25. Rod, what would you like to see in Star Trek Legacy?
See, you're trying to catch me on something. You're trying to catch me on something as if there is a Star Trek Legacy. I am completely unaware of anything out there called Star Trek Legacy in concept or other form. Oh God, I don't want to get in trouble for this, but
We're live.
I love, yeah, we're live. No, but I grew up with The Next Generation. That was my show. That's the show that I loved. When it ended, I thought All Good Things was an incredible, perfect ending. And since I'm of the age where I'm a little bit stuck in my ways, I'm one of the people who would have said that Leave It Alone, it was a great ending. Now, what Terry Matalas did with season 3 of Picard was phenomenal and gave it another great, beautiful ending. But so few series have good endings.
Oh, so I mean,
You guys had
Ours
it
was
worse.
fantastic.
yeah. People love it.
Oh, they never stopped talking about our ending.
You guys had the other very good TNG ending.
It was
did.
the other good. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was the other TNG ending. We'll move on.
Robbie Mines, $5. Rod, do you communicate with Vernon Braga about ideas?
I don't, but had a great interview with Berman on Rick Berman on my podcast. I'm not my podcast, my documentary.
Oh, nice.
And he gave me
Tech
some
Nation?
great insight
Right.
into my father, and he actually showed a bit of empathy on my journey. So it was. Whatever you think of Rick Berman, I don't know him that well, but I will say it was a great discussion with him, and it was nice to see that side of him.
I think where Trek's concerned, Rick's heart is definitely in the right place.
We had a fantastic.
We had a great time with him.
talk
We went
with
up to the house. He was one of our early interviewees
Yeah.
for the show, and he was terrific. And He really holds this dear to his heart, and he spoke so highly of your dad and what those early days meant moving forward with that new show. It was really something.
Yeah, I think
Told
it's
stories I'd never heard before.
really.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
I look forward to seeing that episode.
Yeah, it's worth seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth watching, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, he dropped some stuff that I didn't know about,
Yeah.
and he was really open
Yeah, very.
to talking about anything.
He shared something about his kids and what was going on back then and sort of the backlash that he might have gotten and people hearing things and how hard it was. And he didn't go into a sob story of how hard it was for him, but it did make me consider,
Yeah.
empathize, hopefully, a little bit some of the stuff that he had to go through.
His workload was big.
Yeah,
And,
and standing in those shoes with
Yeah.
those expectations.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Jill Sheets. Hi, Jill from Patreon. Tell us about Roddenberry Dive Team. How did you come up with the idea?
I'll be quick about this because I kind of talked about it. Just loving scuba diving, exploring strange new worlds. I mean, that it is the true connection to being on another planet, and I just felt the two went hand in hand. I mean, I had a passion for Star Trek. I had a passion for scuba diving. Why not make it a reality? Why not bring people to incredible places underwater and have them experience life on another planet?
Rossi Broder from Patreon. What is the best advice that someone has given you?
Okay, so
Wear sunscreen.
Take
here's the best advice, and there's probably a lot of caveats to it. No one knows what they're doing. Wherever you are, whatever line of work you're in, there is, maybe I could say there is no one way or right way to do it, but everyone is always still figuring it out, regardless of how long they've been in the business. Now, they may have a lot of experience and they may understand how it's been done up to that point, but wherever it is, things are changing so quickly and so fast, so much that a lot of people are still trying to keep up. So if you're ever in a situation where, and I can't, I got to be careful because I don't want to give the bad advice, where you're being told it can only be done one way. And if you're really passionate and if you've got ideas and you've done your homework, your research, you really understand whatever it is, and whatever you're doing isn't going to hurt anyone, of course, then continue that passion. Don't sell yourself short. Don't sell your ideas short. You've listened to different points of view and had a lot of people tell you it can only be done this way, this way, this way. Well, then use all that, bring it together, and come up with your own way to do it. It's going to be an uphill battle, for sure, and it may never happen. But if you have an idea, don't let any one person tell you it can't be done.
Monica S. from Patreon asks, do you have any other favorite sci-fi shows, movies besides Trek?
Absolutely. We talked about, I don't want to say it's my favorite movie, but I love Interstellar. I
It's so good. I love that
I
movie.
cried like a baby through a good chunk of it.
It's very long.
It's very long, but that is
That's
my
Nolan's film, yeah?
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely love it. And
He's my
Contact. Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, around the corner.
Knock on his door and tell him I'm a huge fan. That is sort of a go-to because it's also just
And I don't live
fun
in a
and
posh
easy
part of
too.
town.
Yeah.
But-
Watching it the second time is just a great journey to go on. I love it.
Sandy Sanford via email. What are your religious beliefs? It's a touchy subject, but I am curious, so why not ask? Well, you touched on it a little bit.
Yeah. Years before, I might have tried to say something a little softer. I do not believe in God or any organized religion. I believe religion can do good. I believe often it doesn't. But my main issue, I think, is with some religions. Now, I have not studied religion. I'm not an authority on religion. I've never read the Bible. So you can all say to me, well, then who the hell do you think you are to have this? Well, it's just my opinion. You don't listen to it. That's fine.
Yeah.
But any time that someone stands on a podium and tells you how it is from a source, I'll call it an imaginary being, I feel it takes away from your ability to think for yourself and to make your own mistakes. Now, not all religions do this. I'm just saying it can often be that way. And so
Father
that
felt
is
the same way, Andy, from what I understand.
and
reading
that
about him.
humanism versus being an atheist and all that. Sure, humanist. I believe in humans, and I believe that we have done all the great things on this planet.
One formal church he quite admired really was the Catholic Church, wasn't it? For its, I think, for its showmanship, if nothing else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sadly, he and I never had those conversations,
Right.
so I've gotten it from books and other people.
Right.
So unfortunately, I am not either the authority on Gene
The
Roddenberry.
longest running show on the planet.
Right.
Ivan Kira from Patreon. What are your biggest differences, disagreements with your father's vision for the show? And to echo Rosendust, your favorite memory of your mom?
Oh, wow. I don't know if we have time because I can't think of disagreements. Your favorite memory of your mom? She used to take me, she loved movies. And so she actually got in trouble for taking me when I was, 3 or 2 or whatever I was, an infant, to see Apocalypse Now. The whatever they were, the person came into the theater and said you can't have him in there. And I saw American Werewolf in London. I saw Amityville Horror. She
Oh,
loved.
before the age of 7.
I was a little kid, and the stuff that I would say to cover my eyes were the kissing scenes and sex scenes.
Right.
I also do not like horror movies now, just because I think I've seen enough of them. But she just loved that, and that was my bonding time with my mother. I'm sorry to dodge your first question. It is a great question, and I love good questions. I'm just going to waste way too much time trying to
Good
come up with
questions
it.
for sure.
Come back.
Nancy Congdon from Patreon. What is your favorite Star Trek episode or any TV series episode, and why do you like it?
So I'll give my usual answer. People have heard me say this, but it is true. And I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's the one that taught me what Star Trek was, or at least it brings up an emotion every time. And it is The Devil in the Dark in the original series. Even though there are many other episodes of many other shows that I like, this is the one where, and for those of you who don't know, the rock monster is killing people who are mining on the planet, humans.
All right.
And we are mining its crystals or whatever, and the Enterprise is brought in to save the day. And of course, we first try to shoot it, and nothing happens.
right.
But then Spock has the brilliant idea of it's a life form, it's intelligent. Let's see if we can communicate.
Oh, it's the silicon-based. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, we end up finding out that it's a mother protecting its young, and the crystals that we're mining are its young. So it is a mother protecting its young, which begs the question, who is the devil in the dark? And every time I say it, I get chills, because that was my first experience with a story that flips it completely around. And you realize, wait, we're the bad guys.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk about empathy, talk about understanding, talk about how important it is to communicate, obviously. That is a prime example, and that is Star Trek done right.
Love it. Great answer.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, fans.
Yeah,
for
thank
your
you.
questions.
Guys.
Yes.
Just a couple little more chat room things here real quick, and then I think if you guys are ready, maybe we can.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
we'll do this real quick, and then we are about 2 hours in, so we can take a little live break if you guys need a second.
Yeah,
we
I could. Porthos looks like he needs a pee.
We can talk about.
He already peed right in my lap.
It's a catheter.
That's right. Good boy. Good boy.
Cryptocurrency, $2, $2
No, we're not
for a
taking
great
crypto.
show,
Yeah.
as always.
It's worth $2 now and 30 cents tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Cryptocurrency. And Pranakasha Productions, $20. Hordas are us. Yeah, okay, that's funny.
Thanks again, Matt.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
We are going to take a little pause. The show is still live. We're still here. But we're going to take a moment. We're going to get ready for trivia, and we'll talk about your podcast.
Yeah, and I got to think about books that I like. And Jesus.
Got one book on
No.
the island.
And,
Get all the authors' work.
You get all the authors.
Oh, that's true. You get one.
Oh,
author,
all right,
not one
so
book.
if we could
There you
turn
go.
on elevator music right now, we would, but I don't know how we
Yeah.
So, you guys can take a quick break.
No, thank you.
Maybe we should...
You know what? I'll bring over Nuke. Nuke, you
that'd
can
be
be the
cute.
star. Oh, sorry. Right in that. Can't, right. Yeah, sorry. Whoever I just did that to. Nuke. Everyone, so I'll just keep talking to you. My dog, his name is Nuke. He is a husky pit bull. I don't know if any of you can see him. He's almost 5. He's a sweetheart. And, yeah, he just had, unfortunately, a spinal injury about 2.5 months ago, where we don't know what was happening. He was playing, but he jumped, and oops, there goes the camera. And
wasn't such a long time.
Getting from here to
It was
there.
only 4 years. That's such a. Speaking of podcasts,
Yes.
you have one. Mission Log.
Yes, we have a few, but
you do?
the one that started it
Doesn't
off.
that like you?
We started a podcast called Mission Log. I don't. John's going to kill me. I feel like 12 years ago now, and it came from this desire I had to get to know Star Trek better through the fans. Because I had spent my whole life with people saying Star Trek changed my life. Star Trek touched me. The stories that you guys have both heard. Star Trek's had this messages. I wanted to analyze it. And I wanted to find two talented people who could, on a podcast do that. And I had two great hosts who started chronologically. So from the cage, once a week, every episode, they would go through and they would summarize the episode, do some trivia, and then do a deep dive into what the morals, myths, and meanings in the episode were, and how it related in 1966, 67, 68, how it related in the 80s, the 90s, etc. And they have done an incredible job really finding things in these shows that I've missed. And what's great about Star Trek is watching it when I was younger and watching it again now, you see so much more.
Sure.
This podcast helps me do that because I'm going through every show and watching it. And I haven't, guess what, everyone? I haven't seen all of Star Trek. So Next Gen was the one that I saw the most of. I had to go back and watch the original.
Be afraid.
Yeah. I know. Oh, are you going to ask me questions?
I guess it's trivia.
I'm playing trivia.
Be
I see.
afraid.
Okay. But it is a 45-minute to 1 hour show that just sort of digs into it. And it really comes from the geek side of things, where when you used to watch Star Trek and then call your friends and talk about the episode. And it's a conversation, two people. It's not all heady. It's fun. It's jokes. But it does talk about ethics, sexuality, morals, government, politics. It gets into that.
Where can people find it?
Podcast.roddenberry.com has all of our shows. But if you just look up Mission Log Podcast, you'll get it. So very proud of that.
All right. Do you have guests on? Or?
We have guests on, and the reason I haven't asked you guys is because we're now in the
I'm interested. Why haven't
third
you
season
asked
of third season of Voyager. So it's been 12 years. The whole thing, it was going to be a 14-year journey before all the new shows, and now with all the new shows, it's now going to be a 18 plus
We're in that time
year
gap
journey.
again, man.
Yeah.
It's true.
So. I'm going to put you guys on the spot when we get to Enterprise. Will you guys come on our podcast?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
we
You guys
will.
all heard it.
Yeah. You heard it here first.
Yes.
You can get us both for Shuttlepod 1.
Yeah.
That'd be
There you
perfect.
go.
Or whatever show that was that we can't talk about that was on the series we may or may not have been on.
Yeah. This thing of ours.
Yeah. This thing of ours.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect. Thank you.
You're
absolutely.
welcome, mate, and we look forward to that. So I think it's time to play some trivia.
Star Trek trivia.
Star Trek trivia.
Mark.
While they're getting ready real quick, we're just going to thank Slack Twaddle.
Oh, Slack Twaddle.
Slack Twaddle.
100 Canadian
Bless you,
dollars.
Slack Twaddle.
Very nice.
From Tiffany and
you have
me,
a cool
please
name,
give
Slack
Nuke
Twaddle.
a head scratch for us.
Aw.
Aw,
Did you hear Nuke
beautiful.
panting in the background just now? Yeah.
so cute.
I thought it was Dave waiting for his dinner.
Also, we want to thank Sean. Sean was trying to donate to bring Dominic back, but Google has prevented him from donating more money. He's reached the maximum today.
Oh, wow.
So
I've maxed you
That's
out.
incredible.
yeah.
Thank you. That's amazing.
But he was shouting out to you, Dominic. Figured you could use the belly rub.
I could use the belly rub. I'm sure we could find a way.
Do you Zell?
We also want to take an opportunity to thank Danya Runyon for sending us. Your daughter made this.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And a blue one.
Is it a
crocheted.
communicator
Veronica.
pouch?
There's one with a bottle in it right here. We saw you at
beautiful.
STLV and admired your bottle thing, so you sent
Very
one for
nice.
Lee Nickel and
thank
one
you.
for Erica LaRose.
Oh, so
Very
cute.
nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then we got
can support
a bunch of goodies from our friends at Trekking Up North.
That's
Thank you,
awesome.
Trekking Up
So,
North.
Trekking-
thank
is that
you guys.
Canadian? Where are they from?
They're a wonderful.
Huddersfield.
Trekking Up North is a wonderful podcast out of North England.
Oh, North
Oh, it
England.
is.
That
I
kind of
wasn't
North.
joking.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Well, God
I
bless
like
you.
the T-shirt.
Okay, so sorry, interrupted your trivia.
All right. Okay.
Trick.
You guys ready for Star
Right, here
Trek
goes.
trivia?
Yes, we are.
All right, so today,
we
Rod,
playing
Connor,
for?
Dominic, you guys are playing for member K Conth Road.
He can't throw.
KK on the road, I think.
KK on the road.
KK on the road, there we go. And
KK on the
Mark is
road.
playing for a brand new member.
I'm playing for Brian
That's
Barrett.
1K away from being quite troublesome.
Brian Barrett is our newest member.
Thank you, Brian.
So thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
Also,
Brian, new member. God bless you. mate.
$300 from On the Road just
wow.
came in.
On
Thank
the
you so
Road.
much.
Wow.
K on the
You're
road.
amazing. Thank
Very
you.
nice.
Did you
Thank
get
you.
that, Dave? Yes. $99.99 on the road.
Dave's like, what have I done?
Oh, jeez.
Good boy, Nuke.
All right.
All right, let's hit it.
All right,
All right.
here we go. Question number 1.
I'm nervous.
Me too.
In Deep Space Nine, who is Quark's most steady customer? A.
Mark.
The Grand Nagus. B. Morn. C. Liquidator Brunt. Or D. Chief O'Brien.
Mark Brax, yes. Morn,
Oh,
which is backwards for Norm from
Norm
Cheers.
from Cheers, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
I
nice.
knew that. Damn.
He's the most
right.
talkative one, too, from what I understand.
Yeah. Oh, it won't shut up.
All right, question number 2. What was Luoxana Troy's name for her daughter, Deanna?
Okay.
A nickname for her daughter, Deanna.
Name.
Oh.
A. Imzadi. B. Brat. C. Little One. Or D. Baby Girl.
Yes, Mark. Little one.
Little one, yeah.
You got your buzzer.
I know.
Where are you today?
Connor always has a good
A
buzzer.
little slow on the upkeep.
Bad foot.
It's my
Little
foot.
My foot.
All right.
Damn, I knew that one too.
Question number 3.
I
Isn't
was
he
hoping it was
distracted?
Brat.
Yeah. I think that was her nickname for me.
Really?
Question number 3.
It was.
Question number 3.
I think it was little shit, really. What's that little shit done now?
All right.
You two, we have so much in common.
Question number 3. What part of Worf's body was injured in the Next Generation episode Ethics?
Mark.
A. His arm. B. His chest. C. His leg. Or D. His spine.
We got it.
There you are.
I've seen this. This is the big fight, isn't it? With the what do they call the
This
Klingon?
is all on you. I
the
have
Klingon.
no idea.
I don't think you're right.
Oh, you
I
don't.
challenge you.
Oh well, go on. Go on, tell me what you think.
I
It's
could
not
be
that
wrong
big fight
too.
one.
I could be.
Okay, go.
I think a big container fell on him.
Oh, and with the arm,
It was a fight with a container, and it's just well.
chest,
What would
chest,
Got it.
arm,
You-
leg.
You answered it. Did you answer it?
I didn't. I just no.
He just
we
got
can
it.
all just
we can all
collectively
confer.
answer.
What do you say?
Spine.
Spine. Yes, sir, Bob. We love it.
Good job.
But it was a container, not a fight,
Container
right?
fell off the top
Okay,
shelf.
okay.
I
Kind
thought
of
it
a
was
bummer way to
That's
go.
the first time I ever cried watching television was when they trick you into thinking, spoiler alert, Worf had died in that episode.
Wow,
Tears out of my face
that's beautiful.
as a
What
child.
are these things?
Yeah,
Not just a TV show.
yeah.
what are we,
I came
2-1
here
then?
for joy,
Yeah.
and
coming
I
back.
left with sadness.
Oh, am I hitting the wrong one? Oh, he's all?
Any one of them will do.
Oh, okay.
Any one of them will do.
Okay. Question number 4. In the Next Generation episode, In Theory, who is Data's girlfriend? A. Lieutenant Aquiel Unari. B. Lieutenant Jenna Desora. C. Sito Jaxa. Or D. Alyssa Ogawa.
I'm out. I don't know.
Well, you can press.
No,
So this will be a shot in the dark. Name the girls again.
Sure. A. Lieutenant Aquiel Unari. B. Lieutenant Jenna Desora. C. Sito Jaxa. Or D. Alyssa Ogawa.
I mean,
You know, when
really.
you take the SAT and you don't know the answer, they say put C.
C. I was going to go with Jaxa. I'm going with C. Jaxa.
I'm gonna guess Jenna. Yeah,
Hey.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Even
great.
when he guesses, he gets
because
it.
I recognized 2 of the other names and I knew they were wrong.
Ogawa, I thought I recognized that one, but I wasn't
Yeah.
sure from where.
All right.
I remember she was nice.
Question number 5.
Nice how.
Okay.
What extremely sweet Bajoran treat was sold at the stands on the promenade in Deep Space Nine? A. Jumja. B. Yamek sauce. C. Bractagino. Or D. Hasperat.
He got it.
Shoot.
What is it?
I think it's the Jimja stick. Jamja stick.
Yes, sirree, Bob.
Right? Isn't there a stick on the end of that? It's usually in a stick form.
Yeah,
We'll
it's on
take
a
it.
stick.
3-2.
We still lost.
Jamja.
Was that the end of it?
Yeah.
You guys were close.
I won 5-2, but
No,
you guys
you
were
didn't.
really
Was it
fun.
5-2?
3-2.
3-2.
Yeah,
I won 18-1.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Brian Barnett. You are our newest Patreon member.
Well done,
Brand
Brian.
member.
Thank you, mate.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good core.
Well done.
And
Great questions.
and then who did you guys lose for? KK on the road.
KK on the
KK on
road.
the
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, KK.
We still like you.
No call.
I think this is rigged. I think he's got an advance button.
Yeah, it's in his head, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it time to play Stuck on a Deserted Island
Yes.
with Connor Trinier?
Yes.
So, you are stuck on a deserted island for the rest of your life, and you are allowed 4 items plus a bonus item. You are given whatever work of religion you want. Clearly,
He doesn't want one,
You don't want
apparently.
one. You want a journal pad,
Yeah.
and the works of Shakespeare.
Right.
You get those anyway.
I automatically
It's like
get
staying at a
those.
Motel
Okay.
6.
Okay. It's going to take me being on an island to go through the works of Shakespeare.
Well, you got a lot of time on your hands.
Okay.
All right, and then you get to select your cuisine. So if you were to pick like Italian, you get all Italian food. Yada yada yada.
Okay.
Your author, you get their complete works. Your musician / composer, you get all of their complete works as well. And your dessert, same thing with like if you pick pie, you get all the pie.
All right. These aren't going to be the best answers just because there's a lot of, these are good questions. These are very, very good questions because I would lean towards sushi for food, but that's all around me. And as long as, right, nothing bad happens. You can have anything you want and live forever.
you're comfortable.
Or at least not, yeah. So,
yeah. There's no cholesterol on the
yeah,
side.
cookie dough, pizza, or sushi. I don't know. Not together. Not together.
No. So your cuisine would be
Well, if I can have anything you want and it has no repercussions, then I'm going to go for something. I love pizza. I love sushi. I mean, do I get one kind of sushi or do I
you
get
get everything. You get all.
All right.
Like, if you say Italian, you get
Japanese,
pizza.
So my Jinpachi sushi chef will be magically bringing me stuff. So that's sushi. We're going with sushi.
Okay.
And it won't deplete the ocean.
No.
It'll all be synthetically grown in the replicator.
Yes,
so
it comes from farms in inland lakes.
Or the replicator.
You're the replicator,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Your author.
Yeah. I'll just go back to Sagan, I guess. I was gonna say I'm not gonna say it anymore. The guy who did Sphere and Jurassic Park.
Crichton?
Crichton. I've enjoyed some of his stuff, but I don't like his endings. Yeah, I'll go with Sagan for now, just because I don't have that much.
Your musician / composer.
This is nostalgic. I grew up with Motley Crue, and I love Motley Crue.
Motley
There's a lot of other great... Listen, I love the Beatles. There's a lot of great stuff out there. I think if I were trapped on an island and I was trying to, like, keep myself sane and bring myself back to what I know and what I love, I would probably do something familiar. And I don't know if Motley Crue is the best answer.
Did
but
you see them on the strip in the 80s? Were you there?
Yes.
You're just old enough to get
Mick
in.
Mars and Nikki Sixx came into. I wasn't getting a tattoo. I was getting a leather. This is 80s. A leather jacket done, an airbrush for Dr. Feelgood, and they walked in and I had them sign it.
Oh, wow.
That was
That's
awesome.
amazing.
That was awesome.
I recently watched that film that they made about them in the pandemic. It's pretty good, actually.
The Dirt?
I have to say, yeah,
It's good.
I've never seen it before.
Not for
yeah,
young
not for-
eyes.
Not for young eyes.
Not for, yeah.
Dessert.
I did say cookie dough. I guess cookie dough. I'll go with cookie dough.
All cookie dough.
All cookie dough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean,
Why
Hey,
not?
you know what? You could build a structure out of the cookie dough too, and live in it. and then wake up with munchies and just sort of nibble the wall.
Eat the house.
doesn't melt in the sun. We're good. Actually, it might be a cookie in the morning if it's in the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah, see? And then you
like
get a bonus item. This item can be anything, but it can't get you off of the island.
Well, I don't want to be cliche and bring my son out there and trap him too. Does he count as an item? No.
Well, I don't know. People have no. You
No,
can't. You
no
can't bring
humans.
Unfortunately,
I
no
can't.
humans.
I wouldn't do that to him anyways. I wouldn't do that to him. Nuke, though, I might do it to you. I might bring Nuke out.
We've allowed dogs.
That's,
Yeah,
yeah.
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 That's companionship.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
yeah,
we
yeah.
have. Yeah.
yeah. I could use someone
Bring him.
to hang out with.
That's
Probably end up
nice.
talking to him.
Right. A
Probably
lot.
have lots of conversations.
Yeah.
That's a question for you.
And might start hearing answers.
That's right.
Does Zale like Star Trek?
He does. He's watched he's watched a number of course he loves the animated stuff. I even let him watch Lower Decks, which has some good adult humor in it.
Right.
He does. Again, he doesn't fully get it, but
He's about- what is he, 10
he's
now?
actually he's 10.
Yeah.
He's more like my father. He's read more books already in his life than I have in my entire life.
Wow.
He reads constantly and loves thinking about the future and black holes and space
That's cool,
and
man.
all that sort of stuff. He's in no time. He's 10, so I think by 13 he'll be smarter than I am.
That's brilliant when it's just inherent, isn't it? It's,
Yeah.
it's God given.
Yeah, no,
If
it
you don't-
definitely
even
skips
though
a
you don't
generation,
believe in
but
God,
I'm
but it's-
thrilled he has
It's
it.
funny how they
It's
come out the way
just,
they come out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it to him.
So
Dog, you're
cookie
coming.
dough, and what was the bonus item?
Nuke.
Oh, the dog.
Nuke.
The dog.
I'm bringing
And
Nuke.
the dog. Dog.
And he has to live forever, at least as long as I live.
Did everyone get to see Nuke? Did he wander in
Yeah,
yet?
he came in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they might have gotten a top shot.
Look at you, boy. Well, mate, it's been an absolute joy
Yeah.
having you
Thank
come
you.
and
It's
sit
so
down
much.
with
It's
us.
been my
you.
pleasure.
It's been a real treat.
I haven't had a 2-hour-long conversation in quite a while. So thank you. Thank you for keeping it rolling.
Welcome to LA.
That's right.
Give you this.
Oh, very nice.
Officially, Alamitos Vineyards. Thank you, Sean and Chris, for this.
Thank you, guys. Big fan of red.
Alamitos is in San Jose.
San Jose. Go
Thank you.
visit.
They make a
It's
nice drop.
amazing.
And a nice Pinot.
Yeah.
Also, we are going to put a link in our comments if you want to try Alamitos. There's a link there, and you get a discount with the discount code. It's in the description, or will be momentarily.
And I want to talk to you guys because, my name lends itself perfectly to winemaking. Rod and berry. Fermented berries.
Right?
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
I think I must have come way back from a line of winemakers.
That's probably
Yeah.
You are a Roman from Bordeaux.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
And we'll see you tonight.
Yes, see you
courtesy
soon.
of our dear friend Dave Tab. Thank you, Dave, for all
See
your
you, buddy. Thank you.
support today, mate.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
God
Bless you.
Live long and
Michelle.
prosper, everyone.
And,
We have, I'm sorry, 2 more things to house clean up. Sorry, everybody.
Stick around, everyone.
We're trying to leave, but we don't want to miss Jason Jenisic. Thank you so much, $20. Rod talked about his foundation this week. Senk Ugert announced launching Operation Hope, working to bring about progressive change. Rod and Senk having a conversation would progress humanity to the future we want.
Nice.
Sounds like a great conversation.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Jason. And
Thank
then
you, yeah.
Prankasha Productions, $10. It sounds like Fantasy Island. She was commenting. They were commenting, I imagine, on
Is it Deplane?
Connors.
Deplane.
All right. I don't think we've missed anyone. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Tapp, for your contribution,
Yes.
for matching everybody today.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
Yes.
all of you
Huge thanks.
so much
Yes, very much.
for helping keep the show alive and for contributing to the stage and to the foundation.
And keeping Star Trek alive.
Keeping Star Trek
Yeah,
alive.
God bless.
For being
Thank
an
you.
awesome community and awesome fans, and you guys are the best.
yeah.
Thank you.
So
We'll
thank
see you next time.
We'll see you next week. We have
Yay.
a fabulous new guest next week.
Take care, everyone.
We got Herman Zimmerman coming on next week.
Oh, very nice. I haven't seen him in years.
Yeah, God bless. Still with us.
Wow.
All righty.
Another Patreon member in the studio today, Lee Nickel. Thank you.
And
Yes,
thank
thank
you, Lee
you.
Nickel.
Thank you,
God
Lee.
bless you, darling.
Okay.
Love the shoes.
Finger favorite.